So there's a lot of stuff going around on Xbox, and whether or not we'll have to wait years to play some of the games that Microsoft is making. And I felt like this is a good time to make a video about this because I have been seeing this going in the industry for a while, going in these gaming streets. So let's go ahead and get on with this video. But before we get on with the video, definitely hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. You can always subscribe to the channel for weekly content. And don't forget to go and follow me at Twitter at LordAddictILP. Without any further ado, let's talk about these release dates. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Guy here, coming at you for another video. Today we're going to be talking about the release schedule that Microsoft has going and whether or not you should expect these games and where you should expect them, in my personal opinion. Obviously, I can only speak for my output. I can't speak for anyone else. I don't know when these games are coming out. I can only give you an estimation of when I think they're coming out. So let's go ahead and talk about what I'm talking about in general. There is a lot of speculation going on there that most of these games that Microsoft is making is going to be 2023, 2024. We're not going to see them anytime soon, and we're going to have to wait years upon years to play Microsoft related games. Is this the case? Yes, there are a few games that isn't going to be coming out anytime soon, and you are going to have to wait a few years to play some of these games. But is that the case for everything? I don't think that is. I think there is a reason that Microsoft bought Bethesda. I think that is also the reason that they are looking into purchasing more studios. I don't know how many. I don't know if they're buying Sega. I don't know if they're buying Konami. There's a lot of rumors going around that they're trying to license stuff out from Konami. That might be a completely different video, to be honest with you guys. Look out for that one. But at the end of the day, I do think Microsoft knows that a couple of their bigger titles is going to take a couple years to make, and they know that there's going to be a wait. And that's why they're doing things like making sure that some of these day one game third parties are there, such as MLB, Outriders. They want to give you incentive enough to invest in their ecosystem and make sure that there is enough time between now and those first parties start releasing. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get anything. If you game on the Xbox platform, you are still going to get games. We have Halo coming out at the end of the year. There's a very good chance Starfield comes out at the end of the year, unless it's been pushed back to 2022 because of COVID reasons. And both of those, especially, Halo, is going to be an exclusive. Obviously, there is still that question whether or not Starfield's going to be an exclusive. I personally believe so, but even if it isn't, you still get that day one Game Pass purchase, and I believe it's not going to be an issue. I think you will have that as an exclusive to the platform and obviously PC. So when you put those into consideration, you take the perspective that, like, look, this year you're going to have stuff like MLB coming to Game Pass day one. You're going to have potentially Battlefield 6 coming to day one in Game Pass. That's what the rumor going around is. I doubt it's that case, but with Battlefield having a couple misses, there's a good chance that EA was willing to put something like that in Game Pass day one. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go over the first party studios that Microsoft currently owns. We're gonna really go deep into what they might be making and whether or not when the game will come out. So let's go ahead and start. All right, I'm gonna put up the list on the screen. Right there it is. Now let's start with the first one on the list. It's 343 Industries. Halo Infinite's coming out at the end of the year. It's no secret, and whether or not this game succeeds is irrelevant to this video, but the game is coming out this year, and that is something you'll be able to play at the end of the year. Hopefully it will be good. Let's go to World's Edge. They're the people that make Age of Empires. That game is also most likely coming out this year. Sure, it's going to be a PC only game, but if you have access to a PC, it looks like it's going to be a solid experience for anyone that likes that type of gameplay. I myself love World Edge type of games. I like the RTSs, and to be honest with you guys, Age of Empire 4 looks like a solid experience coming out of the first party lineup for Microsoft. Do I feel like they need to try to bring this game to Xbox? I do, but I feel like with the limitations of a controller that you can only get with a keyboard and mouse, maybe that's just not possible. I know that Master Chief Collection just got keyboard and mouse support on console, so maybe if they make it a little bit more, universal, we could see Age of Empire 4 on console with just mouse and keyboard, but I feel like we'll find that out in the future at some point. Now let's talk about the Coalition. Coalition hasn't made a game in a couple years, since Gears of War 5. Now I know a lot of people are going to say Hive Busters because that was technically the last thing they had. Gears 5 wasn't, but I would like to say Hive Busters was made by a way smaller team, and the majority of the coalition was making their next project. Whether or not it's Gear 6 or some new IP, it's kind of irrelevant at this point. I do think it's Gear 6. I think they're going to want to finish up that trilogy before they go on to something else, and I think there's a good chance we might see that next year at E3. I mean, we could even see it this year at E3. I just find it, I don't know if that's something that's possible. I feel like next year at E3 would be a better date, but then again, if Hellblade's been pushed back next year because of COVID reasons, I feel like maybe Gears would be the solid second replacement, and it could come out next year, but that's just me. Let's go to the Compulsion games. I have no clue when this game comes out. I think there's a chance that it might be at E3 this year, maybe next year. I don't know how far in development they are with it. We Happy Few has been out for a little bit, and they did have the expansions that come out, but it's hard to tell exactly where they are with Compulsion games. Double Fine Studios is making Psychonauts this year. It is definitely going to be out this year, hopefully. Can't say definitely with COVID, obviously, but for the most part, I think it's safe to say that Psychonauts is coming out this year. Now, they could be working on something else, and they show it at E3 this year. That is a definite possibility, and I'll be very curious to see what happens this year at E3 in terms of, you know, the second and third studio teams coming out and showing their extra game. I think that's a very big possibility. A lot of people don't realize it or don't really want to even consider the fact that a lot of these studios have multiple teams. But, you know, I definitely understand people want to see results. They don't want to hear any more waiting. Xbox Game Studios Publishing. It's the people that make, you know, deals with second party studios. Now, this is completely up in the air. I do know that there are some big names on Twitter that's come out and said, don't sleep on this, that they have certain things down the line for you. So I would expect probably a game or two from this publishing arm coming out at E3, maybe for a release date this year or early next year. The Initiative. Do not expect this game anytime soon. It is going to be a minute before Perfect Dark comes out. Don't expect it. I would expect a game maybe in 2024 from Perfect Dark, and I don't know exactly if they have a second studio. I don't think they do, but I don't know what's going on at the Initiative. XL Entertainment. I know, I butchered the name. You're gonna have to get over that. A lot of people in my comment sections when I reviewed Wasteland 3. You don't have to point it out to me. I know I can't pronounce their name. We're gonna move on with that. Wasteland 3's been out for a while. I don't know if they're making expansions. I don't know what entertainment is over there doing, but I would expect to see a game for them within 2 to 3 years, depending on what type of brand they're making, what type of game they're making. Now, Microsoft bought Bethesda, so Fallout is open. I just want to point out that this studio can easily make a Fallout game. Now look, clearly I don't know if it's going to be something like Wasteland or it's going to be more traditional Fallout type of RPG game, but I feel like they can make both. And to be honest with you guys, I love the turn-based XCOM style games, so I'd be okay with both. But don't sleep on this studio. They can do a lot of different traversal stuff. Mojang Studios makes Minecraft. They're only going to make Minecraft from here to the end of the world. I don't know, that's a joke. I'm sure they can make something else, but I'm assuming this studio is mainly going to focus on Minecraft. Ninja Theory. Listen, Ninja Theory is making Hellblade. They're making Project Mario, whatever that's called. And I personally believe that we'll see a Hellblade probably like the spring of 2023. Now, I don't know if it will be ready next year. For all I know, they could go completely extra with this game, and then in 2022 we get this at the holiday or maybe the end of summer. I don't know. We'll have to see exactly what happens with Hellblade. It would determine whether or not we have Hellblade next year. Will probably be on if we get gameplay this year at E3. But to me, I feel like this is definitely a 2023 game. Obsidian. You guys know how much I love this studio. This has been one of the key points of Microsoft and what they bought. I want this studio to flourish and I want them to do well. They just finished up wrapping up production on the Outer Worlds expansion, so I'm assuming they're full blown on Avowed, and I would expect this game at the beginning of 2023, like March, April. That's when I would expect it. Clearly, I don't know what's going on with Obsidian. They could be way far ahead of schedule, way behind schedule. Right now, let's see what happens this year at E3 and we'll go on from there. Playground Games. I believe they're going to be making another Horizon this year. I could be wrong about that. They are making Fable on with another team. Clearly, Fable is nowhere to be close. Fable is probably 2023. And, you know, this definitely stands with the general concept that some of these games aren't coming out for a couple years. Rare, Everwild, and Sea of Thieves. I don't think they're done with Sea of Thieves by any means. I feel like there's a really good chance that we'll see more on Sea of Thieves, that they're going to bring a huge expansion to the world, because it's no secret that this game has been been mad successful, and I don't really see Microsoft just openly abandoning the project. I think they're going to continue to let Rare work on this game all the way up until the point that Everwild is out, and I don't think it's going to be one of those scenarios when Everwild comes out. I think it's going to be one of those things where when Everwild does drop, Sea of Thieves and Everwild are going to be side by side being co-developed on. Now, clearly they're probably going to hire more people at this time to be able to keep up with the demand for both games, because those games are really good in Game Pass. They're decent games as a service to me. Obviously, if you see stuff at Steam, Sea of Thieves is popping. I've never personally understood that, but clearly it's doing something right now. I wouldn't expect Everwild for a couple years. I don't necessarily think that, you know, Rare knows exactly what they want to do with Everwild. I think it's one of those things where they know what kind of world they want to build, they want to know what kind of gameplay they want, and they're still trying to determine what they want to do with that world and gameplay. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Sea of Thieves is definitely keeping people's interest, so take as much time as you need on Everwild until you come up with the exact concept that you want. Turn 10. I do not care about racer games whatsoever. Let me repeat that. I do not care about racer games whatsoever, but I know that people love the simulation stuff, and I don't really necessarily think we're going to get a Motorsport 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. I don't know what number they're on. I think we'll probably get that next year, maybe the year after. I do know that they have rebuilt this from the ground up, and I would expect to see more information on that probably next year. Undead Lab. For those of you that's been following me for a while, you know I enjoy State of Decay games. I love State of Decay 1, and State of Decay 2 was just as good. The problem between the two is I felt like it could have evolved more than it did. I don't think that's the issue with State of Decay 3. I think they have a way bigger budget than they had before, and they're going to be able to work on this game in a bigger way than they was with State of Decay 2. However, I do feel like this game is nowhere close to being done, and we're probably waiting till 2022, 2023 before we even see the game. Maybe we'll see the game in 2023 and it will get announced next year at E3. So now that we've went over the first party studios in general, and keep in mind I didn't even go into Bethesda. Bethesda is its own bag of worms, and a lot of those games are scheduled to come out sooner than a lot of these games. Are the people right with all these games coming out in the next 2 to 3 years? Yeah, there are certain games on here that is going to be a couple years before you see it, but I do feel like with the advantage that they have with Game Pass and the money that they're investing into making sure some of these third parties come out with Game Pass day one, I think it's going to take the blow a little bit off of these studios with Bethesda, because a lot of people, we can't forget Bethesda. Bethesda's studios are going to also help make sure the spotlight is not just on these studios that you see in front of you. It's no longer going to be on 343 to make a Halo, and it's no longer to be on just for Coalition to make a Gears. And let's be real here, Turn 10 and Playground Games have been single-handedly keeping the racing genre alive for the past few years. No longer is it going to be on Halo, Gears, and Forza to keep the Xbox brand around. They got the Bethesda games and they got the studios on here, and as well as the third-party Game Pass day one. I feel like with those all together, we're going to have a very solid ecosystem. Sure, some of these games you're going to have to wait a couple years for, you know, Obsidian, The Initiative, especially Exile's new game. We're probably going to have to wait 2 to 3 years for them. But at the end of the day, we do have a roadmap. We have a spotlight on some of these games that we're going to get. Keep in mind, we still have the Xbox Game Studio publishing arm. They're definitely going to give us certain games for that the next couple years. We have 343 coming out with constant Halo updates for the next 10 years, and World's Edge coming out for Age of Empires, and probably Double Fine and Compulsion in the next year to 2. We are still going to get games. It's just some of these games are going to take a couple years, and I would personally, rather than take the years to make it and not rush anything, than rushing the studio to make the game faster just so it bombs in Metacritic wise because there's bugs and stuff. Let's give these studios time to nourish their games and make sure it comes out in the best solid way it possibly can. Let's not rush anything. We are good. Xbox brand is good. Let's make sure that we keep it that way by not rushing these studios. But anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Obviously, do you guys think that some of these games the wait is absurd? You don't want to wait that long? Or do you think, like me, that, it's game development? It takes time, and we're just going to have to be patient or just get a Switch. I don't know. Everyone should have every console anyway. So clearly, if you don't have every console, you can still go and get another ecosystem ecosystem and play that while these games are coming out. And it's like I said, Microsoft isn't not just going to give us games for years. There are games coming out for years. It's just some of their games are going to take a little long. But like I said, put in the comment section below. Tell me what you guys think. This is Gaming Addict. I know this is a very long video, very longer than normal. But anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm out of here. Peace.